Hi everyone, welcome to the Ben Broadhead podcast, episode 3. So today I've got a good friend of mine and client, Len, who's a survivor of the polio epidemic and a fitness enthusiast too. So we're going to talk about both of those areas, partly his condition, but we're not going to dwell on that. Also going to speak about his fitness journey and how far he's come in the last few years. So Len, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm enjoying retirement.
Yeah.
I keep extremely busy. I don't think I've watched television more than 3 times in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm just very active. I'm an artist, as you well know.
Yeah, well, we're sat in your room, which is surrounded by art currently.
Yeah.
And you've got about 20 canvases in here.
Yeah. It's basically a lounge. Other people might call it, I call it my studio.
Yeah.
So I keep very busy. In summer, I do my garden. I think you'd notice my garden's quite good looking at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
And I do housework that I loathe.
Yeah.
I loathe cleaning and cooking, etc. A quick background. Sonia, my wife of 43 years, died 2.5 years ago. And it's left me rather searching for purpose.
Yeah, sure. Well, a lot of us are.
Yeah, and I don't see myself as a special case. But I also don't want to spend the rest of my life dwelling on a catastrophic event. You know, I want to look forward and think of the rest of my life having some purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sentiment I hear from lots of people in your age group, whether they're widowed or not.
Yeah.
My grandparents talk about the same thing of trying to look forward and trying to, derive some kind of meaning and at least enjoy retirement and the later years.
Yeah, I think, Ben, and I've told you this way back, when I was forced to retire at the age of 44.
Yeah.
And we can spend some time just now just to quickly deal with why. But for a long, long time, I was defined by my successful, being
career.
Successful at my career.
Sure.
And in the last 4 years of my career, I was seriously successful.
Yeah.
Had an incredible good life, had everything that I've always wanted, had a reasonable family life, and suddenly, over about a 2-year period, I had to do less and less and less, and in the end, I had to retire because when was it? Late 90s. I started failing health-wise in many ways. Firstly, by 11 o'clock in the morning, I couldn't remember what I told my staff. I had a company of 44 people work for me. And we were in the computer industry. I was in a high-pressure situation. My clients were finance companies. They wouldn't tolerate it if I made mistakes.
Yeah.
So in the end, I had to retire because how can I, by 11 o'clock in the morning, not know what I'm discussing?
Well, of course, yeah.
7 in the morning. So for 8 years, I really, really struggled because I was so medicalized. What happened is in the, I think, probably a good idea just to give background to 1957 when I caught polio, and apparently this was in South Africa.
Yeah.
And in this country, similarly, there was great fear.
Yeah.
If there was polio in the street, people kept well away because polio was a killer. I got it. I was on a farm in South Africa, and it took probably, I think from memory, it took just over 2 years for me to be able to get up and walk again.
Yeah.
I think what happens is if you're knocked out, I was paralyzed. And I think then you get so accustomed to being in that state. And I had a permanent nanny, and nanny did everything. So I think as human beings, we get accustomed to our state. We might not like it, but we actually go with it. And the one day I was on a lawn with nanny, and a snake came towards me.
Yeah.
And I screamed blue murder, got up and run. In my
Wow.
higgledy-piggledy sort of funny run, apparently, and got away from the snake. Now that was what you call quick rehab. And of course, the moment I realized I could move, I apparently had quite a good recovery.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Does that mean that...
So there was serious weakness.
Does that mean there was like a strong psychological factor there?
Yeah, I think when I say to you that I think we, as humans, we get accustomed to our state.
Definitely, yeah.
So if you take it back to something today's living, you retired, you've got some medical problems. I think the danger is that we get into a state where we accept whatever is spelled out for us. If a doctor says, oh, you've got heart problems, you've got high blood pressure, blah, blah, blah. And I listen to a lot of people my age, and I can't bear it because all they do is they talk about the medical problems.
Yeah. No, you've mentioned that before, even in your community.
Yeah, and I think it's a dangerous precedent because you start almost reveling in your misery.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
Yeah, so after 8 years of forced retirement, there's a thing called post-polio syndrome, which at the time, most doctors didn't even know it existed. 30, 40 years after a polio infection, through your life, you've overworked the motor neurons and some of the giant motor neurons, and it gets too technical for me. All I know is they start dying off.
Yeah.
So you have a genuine regression, your central nervous system. And it was severe limiting, and it was extremely painful for 8 years before Charing Cross Neurocenter got control of it.
Yeah.
But I'm on a severe dosage of drugs, as you know, but I don't dwell on it.
Mm-hmm.
So after 8 years, the moment they got control of it, I got into a new, shall we say, a new swing of things. We were on a little farm, few acres, and Sonia and I enjoyed just doing.
Yeah.
Sonia picked up some serious health problems, and in the end we decided we're going to leave the farm and move to a smaller place here in town.
Yeah.
So the end result is we had a really, really good life there. In summer, we worked extremely hard on the property. We had a show garden, really enjoyed it. I became an ace. Like my German friends call me a Grillmeister.
Yeah.
It's a master of the barbecue and a few other things. And we had quite a good social life. There is a matter of faith. I have faith. I do accept Jesus as my savior.
Sure.
But I don't walk around, Bible bashing. It's a private, personal thing for me.
Mm.
And my faith really got me through the last 2.5 years after Sonia died. But when COVID came along, I think COVID changed a lot of us in the way we did things. I mean, to have thought before that a whole society is going to come to a grinding halt.
Yeah.
When I heard the Chinese were shutting schools, they were nailing front doors down. I thought, how outrageous.
Mm.
But then the death toll in Italy started stacking up, and you're saying, whoa,
Yeah.
maybe the Chinese are right. Heaven knows. But anyway, Sonia and I just decided, well, if we in lockdown, we will do what we do best, and we enjoyed our garden, we enjoyed winters doing what we do. But suddenly, one day, I thought, I was card making, and people were saying, oh, these cards that you and Sonia send out are stunning. And they got more and more arty. And then one day I said, well, I wonder what happens if I have Hobbycraft deliver some art material. A small canvas, well, maybe half a meter by half a meter, and some paint and a paintbrush. And when it arrived, I sat down and I started doing art.
Yeah.
I hated art when I grew up. Just was not an activity that I enjoyed at school. And I did art, and I started enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
And here, I'm very blessed that I have at least, probably by now, 10 or 11 artist friends. And Sonny was still alive at the time. And when lockdown ended, some of my artist friends saw what I was doing, and they all unanimously said, Len, you must be seen. In other words, you've got to show it. So, of course, by the time Sonia dies, I've already developed quite a collection. And I came here and I basically used my art to escape my situation. It became my drug, my escape. Yeah. So, and I got better and better at it. But what was more telling, last September, I had a show, the Kamat Cookham and Maidenhead Arts Festival.
Okay.
And I sold 8.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And that was amazing. I thought it was amazing. And then when my artist friends start saying, you know, how did you do? I said 8, and some of them didn't sell, and one sold 2, and another lady sold 5. But generally, people were very down.
So people are obviously gravitating towards your art.
My style of art. Why
do you think that is?
Well, it's maybe the extreme colors.
I think so.
It's in your face. It's to describe it. I don't do twee. I don't do pretty cutesy. I do extreme expressionism.
Sure.
And I went to my exhibition expecting to not be liked. I thought it was too heavy going. And then, of course, the realization that when I converse with people about my art, they get excited about what they see.
Yeah.
So your question, why do I think? I think it's because I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
My colors are upbeat. Some of it might look very dark in spite of the colors. But I think there's a lot of movement in what I do.
Yeah, definitely.
I saw people walk in and linger, and I'd start talking to them about it, and they'd ask questions. And suddenly I could see that they switched to liking what they saw because they understood. Most paintings they have a backstory.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize it. When people ask me, Len, why did you paint this specific thing? And I'd have to think about it. What mood was I in? You're sitting on a rug, and maybe you can quickly just describe what you feel. of this big rug that I've got in my lounge.
Well, I mean, to describe it, it's similar to a lot of your pieces in the sense that it's a lot of vibrant colours, a lot of big lines, and like you see, I guess, kind of shapes, and
It's
it's
exuberant.
very expressive.
Yeah.
I think when I see this, I kind of feel the same way I do when I see any of your art. I think it's kind of refreshing, and it has this sense of fun.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's what people were
what it is.
resonating with, because there are corners of the art world that are quite serious,
It is.
and it's seen as this kind of prestigious thing. And I
Yeah.
think the amount of fun you're having with it,
Yeah,
I think
I
people
think-
just lean into that.
I think there is an element, you hit the nail on the head. In the art world, and we won't dwell on it too much because I don't take it seriously.
I mean, art's very broad, but
It
in
is
terms
broad,
of
but I
places
find
you're
there's
going and
also
existing.
snobbery.
there can be, yeah, sure.
There's snobbery. There's, do you follow this theory and do you do this? And no, I don't. I do what comes up in my head. And clearly, I was even sort of told at an exhibition, oh, you're just doing popularist things. So I thought, well, I thought artists paint so that they can sell and get an acceptance.
Yeah.
What is art success?
Mm.
Is it successful if a bunch of artists tells you it's good and nobody buys? Or are you successful when your broader public actually take up the money and pay?
Yeah, well, it's a good question.
So I don't take it personally. Quite a few people told me, you clearly don't follow the color wheel theory. And I said, the what? And they explained to me there's a color wheel theory. And I said, you guys are seriously taking this art thing far too seriously.
Well, I suppose the difference between you and maybe the majority of artists is the fact that you haven't learnt it from a professional.
Yeah.
You haven't studied it.
Yeah.
And so you're coming at it from a completely different angle.
I'm freer because, and I talked to a good friend of mine, she just lives behind here somewhere, and she, Inga is an incredible artist.
Yeah.
And she's successful in that she sells for thousands and thousands of pounds.
Mm.
And she's got a good reputation. And Inga is not a snob. She simply says to me, Len, when you sell as much as you do, you no longer have the reason to believe you're an imposter.
That's right,
Because for a long time, I suffered from an imposter
syndrome, they call it.
syndrome.
Yeah.
And I said, no, this is nonsense. Let's move on. And by now, I've sold 32 in my last count this morning.
Yeah, that's an awful lot.
That's a lot. When most artists sell 5 a year, perhaps.
Yeah.
So I'm ready for the next exhibition. So things are extremely upbeat, but in a little quick conversation we had before we started talking for your podcast, I want to broaden my life at the minute. It's too much art focus because it was a drug. It's a drug to get away.
Yeah.
And I want to reverse some of that and do some more reading, go to places. I love going to places and seeing new things. So that's part of my plan. I'm not going to every exhibition that everybody else goes to slavishly in the hope of selling a piece of art. I remind myself it's not a living.
Yeah.
It's a pastime, and I want to enjoy it.
Of course.
So, yeah, I'll be doing a little bit more balance. That's what I'm hoping for.
And that's important for your well-being as well.
Yeah, but to get more towards what you do. After I moved in here, I was in an absolute emotional mess. You'll recall that.
Yeah.
I was just blubber someday.
So when you say moving here, you're talking about your current apartment?
Yeah. After Sonia died, I moved in here, and I count myself very fortunate. Lovely spaces. And, you know, it's security.
Yeah.
There's no worries about massive rentals. It's all very nice and organized. So when I got here, um, I was just in an utter mess physically. I found myself not being able to walk upright.
Yeah.
When you came on the scene, I was walking like a very old person, bent forward.
Yeah, hunched forwards, yeah.
Because my lower back muscles and my core muscles were so weak.
Yeah.
And that is partially due to the regression.
Yeah.
And instead of accepting it, you basically convinced me that no matter how little you've got, that you can try and improve.
Yeah, I think that sort of summarizes my overall kind of ethos.
Yeah. It's use it or lose it. Now, going back, for those interested people, if they go back and look at the history of polio rehab here in this country, there was a nurse Kenny. A nurse Kenny went along and had a rehab regime that was extremely severe. And it was essentially use it or lose it.
And that's the motto that they were using at the time.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's what a lot of people use now in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
They probably don't know those origins.
But it was so severe that it was it was cruelty.
Yeah, sure.
Kids would scream their heads off because they would put burning hot towels on their atrophied muscles.
To try and just activate them somehow.
Yeah, just burning it. Absolutely. Imagine towels going in an autoclave. Now,
yeah.
They wet the towel, put it in an autoclave, it becomes super hot, and they put this on the kids.
Yeah.
Now, I told you, at least I didn't have it in South Africa. Snake was what did it for me.
Sure.
So, in a way, when you came on the scene, we went back to use it or lose it, but in a more kindly fashion.
Yeah, well, I've got a bit of a softer approach. I don't get the hot towels, do I?
No. And there was an element, although it was serious, there was an element at times where we laughed.
Yeah.
Where things were so... there's some of my muscles that were so weak that it was almost laughable. But I did see improvement. So where am I at right now? Oh, and then of course, you recall sometime September, was it 2 years ago? I fell here on the veranda and I fractured 2 of my vertebrae. And it hurts so badly that you just, your instant reaction is you don't want to walk, you don't want to turn, you don't want to sit up, you just want to basically be miserable or die.
Yeah.
It was horrendous. But I instinctively knew that if I gave into it, it would mean misery.
Sure, yeah.
Sitting and just fading away. And I would have this debate, this inner debate. Shall I get up now? No, it's going to hurt. And then in the end, this common sense came through. And I'd get up and I'd moan and groan and hurt like heck, go and make myself some coffee.
Yeah.
And that I would, for quite a period of time, I would see as a win.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I beat the system at the time. And without really thinking about it, I managed to do more and more. And again, just to show you how we get into a rut.
Absolutely, yeah.
One day I just realized, but I'm not hurting anymore.
But you were just still in that psychological space of being in a rut.
Yes. And then when did this happen?
Yeah.
Can you see how we just get into this mental state. And that is, I think, my message today. Beware of accepting a negative state.
Yeah. No, you mentioned it earlier, and it's so valid. It's true.
Yeah.
We can all do that, and I mean that case study, the snake.
Yeah.
I mean that does go to show that actually we can do more than we think we're capable of,
Actually,
and there is
totally true.
There is a clear connection between our
Mental
our mental state and
yeah.
our physicality.
Yeah, I think that most of us, when we're in a negative state for a while, get into that rut. We don't like it, but we get into accepting it when perhaps we shouldn't accept it.
Yeah.
I get irritated with myself. If I'm feeling down for 2 days, I just get so irritated with myself and my mental, the way I deal with it is I slap my thigh like that and I say,
Yeah.
come on, get up and do something.
Yeah.
Just stop moping around. And that is how I motivate myself. I talk to myself out loud.
Yeah.
Because I
do as well.
Yeah. And then, well, maybe we all do. And then I go and find something to do. Is it tidying up? Is it just getting some lawn order in my paint drawer? And
Yeah.
it might sound very menial, but it's getting into a frame of mind that you do not sit, accept the status, unless you are really in a medical situation where you simply cannot.
Yeah.
But I think your words, most of us can do a little bit more than what we think we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's finding a way of exploring what that is. Now, I've just put Ben through a little regime, an easy one, mind you.
Yeah, well, you've always got gadgets.
Yeah, I like gadgets.
That's seeped into your fitness life as well, because you've got these.
It's called air ropes.
Air ropes, right.
I think most of us will remember these hyper fit, really big muscled individuals. They've got these long, thick ropes.
Yeah, we've got those battle ropes.
Are they battle
They have
ropes?
them in a lot of gyms.
Yeah, and they go bah, 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 bah.
And these, what you've got is meant to simulate that.
Yeah, and this is called air ropes. And when you start doing it, you think, oh, this is easy.
Yeah.
Until you get to the 6. You did 5.
Yeah.
And it started pushing up your heart rate, and it was creating a bit of a burn, didn't it?
Yeah, well, I thought I was just going to have a little go with it, but then you said, well, right, that's round 1. Have a short rest, and then we go again. And
that is just from memory, the day 1.
Yeah.
It builds up to day 365.
Right.
And I've just looked at some of
so it's a program.
I looked at some of the sessions, and it is mind-blowing what you apparently can lead up to. Now, of course, I'm never going to be Europe's strongman. I'm very realistic. But I'm now at a point where I can actually do a day's work, and sometimes I do it twice a day without feeling desperate.
Yeah.
Now, whatever I can maintain is worthwhile, because it allows me more freedom here in my place. You know that when I go out, I use an electric wheelchair.
Yeah.
Because I cannot go out and do my thing.
Yeah.
Walking. It's just too much of a challenge. But here inside my place, I'm totally capable. I look after myself, and generally I'm turning a corner where I'm really looking forward to the rest of my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I must say that I've got one thing, and then
Yeah.
the idea of sitting in a chair, staring into space, is so terrifying that it motivates me not to become that for as long as I can help it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that there are people that combination of elements, maybe they accept that they're old and can't do anything, and they get into that rut that we've discussed.
Yeah.
But there are other people that simply cannot do what I still can do.
Of course, yeah.
But that mental picture of sitting in a chair for most of the day doing nothing, just, it's my snake.
Yeah.
It's the snake that keeps coming at me with that mental picture, and I do that air rope thing. I go around ripping through the place, tidying it up, because you can imagine when I'm painting 3 or 4 paintings, the place does become chaotic.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
But I try and keep it tidy, and generally it's not looking too bad today.
No,
And
I
I
agree.
promise you, I didn't tidy up just because you were coming.
Yeah.
It's
No, it looks in good order.
yeah,
And you're meant to be a little bit chaotic if you're an artist.
yeah. I find that I'm a bit weird nowadays, and
Yeah, I think that's just the nature of
yeah, and
being in art and being a creative person.
I'm accepting that I am an artist, and sometimes the humdrum of living irritates me.
Sure.
But I realize I've got to, I can't operate in a total chaotic lifestyle. So my finances, I look after that. I try and look after my health. You'll be happy to hear, or impressed to hear, that I lost a stone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of weight, yeah.
I lost a stone in the last 3 months.
Yeah. Well done.
And there's another 2 that I'm wanting to drop. So I'm 16 now, and my target is to get down to 14 and a half.
Yeah.
Which will again help me with my core issues.
Yeah, and with your walking and everything. I mean, if you have excess weight, it changes your center of gravity.
Exactly.
And it can pull you forwards a little bit more.
Yeah, so
things like that.
So walking bent, I look at my neighbours. I've got 2 of my neighbours to be more aware of how
posture.
And they proudly now, like next door, number 11, she used to walk past and really look bent double.
Yeah.
She now walks upright, and most of the time the walking stick is just there for just in case she needs.
And is that just from making a conscious effort to do that, or is it from doing stretches or anything like that?
Me being so rude and tell her that she looks like these road signs, beware of elderly people with walking sticks that are bent double.
Yeah.
and that same neighbour couldn't get up from this very chair that I am sitting in now.
Yeah.
She now powers up without touching the armrests.
Yeah, well, that's being able to stand up without pushing with your arms is a good indication of your strength overall and your functionality.
Yeah, and
so many people struggle with.
Yes, and when I see my neighbour on the other side, she is more liable to, I suppose, feeling, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like a lot of
people feel.
Older people, but young people as well nowadays.
Yeah, very true.
And I keep telling her, you're just making your life more miserable by not being mobile.
Yeah.
And when you are mobile, you are absolutely bent double. And she has picked up, and I'm pleased to see that when they walk past my place, they don't look 90.
Yeah, that's good.
There's one old chappie diagonally across. He's 93 this year. And he was upright.
Yeah.
I saw him 3 days ago.
Well, it just goes to show that regardless of your age, it's more to do with your your kind of mental approach and
Yeah.
and the effort that you're making.
When society and maybe your doctors tell you, accept what your fate is, you've got this neurological condition or you old.
Mm.
Most older people will tell you, their doctors tell them, you're 80, what do you expect?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, well, can I give you a free pass to some gym
Yeah.
for light exercise?
Well, absolutely.
Instead of sending you to another clinic in the NHS.
And your doctors told you that you wouldn't be able to move your legs and things like that, did they not?
They told me here in this country, they told me in the end, well, just accept it.
Yeah.
And I just, my snake, and I keep coming to that because you actually focused on it. I think
it's a good analogy. I think people can take that away from this.
Yes. Find your snake.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes. Go and find something that you can, and if you need to, obsess about it.
Yeah.
I loved it when you told my neighbor at number 11, grab some cans of beans.
Yeah. And lift them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And try and get bigger cans in time. And
it goes to show that we can all do something.
When I look at my neighbor at number 11, she keeps telling me, I have you to thank for giving me a kick in the butt.
Mm.
Because if I like people, I like to believe we can be honest with each other. Can you pause that right there?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I think bottom line is find something that you can be excited about.
Yeah.
Do it. If it's gardening, do it. If you can only sit in a chair and do chair exercises, do it.
Mm.
If you don't have dumbbells, go and find cans of beans like Ben suggested. Just do something positive for yourself.
Yeah.
Not because you have to, but because you want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, you've said so much there that's so profound that people can take away. I mean, to summarize from what I've taken from that, partly just your relentless optimism, which I think people can just try and embody themselves. And also what you said about making small steps if you're in a rut. And I think that oftentimes when people are trying to come out of a rut and struggling, it's because they're not setting the bar low enough. And you have to have the humility to start really small. And you have to let go of your pride there. Yep. And yeah, like you said, explore what it is that you can do, even if that is just making a coffee.
And don't let other people tell you you can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you can't be your former self, but you can be a new self, better than sitting doing nothing.
You can always evolve in some capacity.
Yeah.
That's the hallmark of any living organism, is our ability to adapt to outside stimulus. So you have to challenge yourself regardless of your condition.
Ben, I think just to finish it off, if you don't keep working at it, you will sit and wither away. That's my thinking.
Well, it's true.
And I'm not ready for that yet.
So, no, good.
and may I be like my opposite neighbor at 92. I will learn to spit. I will be a disruptive grandfather.
Yep.
I will be crazy. I'm already known in town as the mad, colourful person with all my bright clothes that I wear.
Well, you've got your artwork printed on your clothes now.
Yeah.
So you're a walking canvas.
Yeah.
Around Maidenhead, yeah. And
what did I do yesterday? I must just tell you quickly before you go.
Of course, yeah.
I decided yesterday my bedside table is boring.
Yeah.
So I sat down, I was tidying up my room. At the minute, it looks like a bomb has hit it, because while I was tidying up, I decided to paint my bedside table.
Yeah.
And it now has quite an extreme artwork as a tabletop.
Yeah.
And a dark Prussian blue bottom. And it was this horrible mushroomy colour.
Yeah.
So yeah, I might even do my cupboard doors and everything in time.
Oh, well, you may as well. I mean, why not?
If I run out of canvases, I'll start in the with cupboard doors.
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyway,
let me just say thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming and speaking. And I think hopefully you've inspired a lot of people.
yeah, okay. And I mean, Ben, if you can just create and help spark, that's something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. And I hope that was beneficial to you. And all the best.